The Manila Regional Trial Court acquits former Negros Oriental Representative Arnie Teves of the murder of Miguel Lopez Dungog and two others. Dungog is a former provincial board member of Negros Oriental's 3rd District. In an order dated January 5 but made public Friday, January 16, the Manila court grants the demurrer to evidence submitted by Teves. A demurrer to evidence is a motion to dismiss filed by the accused after the prosecution finished its presentation of evidence. The demurrer is anchored on the ground that the evidence presented by the prosecution is insufficient. Granting a demurrer to evidence is already considered an acquittal. In the ruling, presiding judge Eduardo Ramon Reyes says the prosecution's evidence is legally insufficient to sustain a conviction even if left unrebutted. According to Reyes, requiring Teves to present evidence under these circumstances shifts the burden of proof to the accused. He says this violates the constitutional presumption of innocence. Following the acquittal, Teves' lawyer Ferdinand Topacio describes the cases filed against his client as harassment suits meant to persecute a political opponent. Aside from Teves, the court also grants the demurrers to evidence filed by co-accused Richard Cuadra and Rolando Pinili. The court is ordering the Manila jail to release the accused unless they are being held for another offense. Teves remains in detention as he is accused of the killing of Negros Oriental Governor Roel Degamo and 10 others. Teves was brought back to the Philippines on May 29, 2025 after his arrest in Timor-Leste, where he had been seeking asylum for nearly 2 years. He is currently under the custody of the National Bureau of Investigation at its facility in Building 14 inside the maximum security compound of the New Bilibid Prison. The Lipa City, Batangas Regional Trial Court is ordering the arrest of businessman Atong Ang for kidnapping with homicide in connection with the missing Sabongeros. The court on Friday, January 16 also issues arrest orders against his 20 co-accused. Ang and 20 others are facing 6 counts of kidnapping with homicide. No bail was recommended for their temporary release. The gaming tycoon is facing a string of criminal cases related to the missing Sabongeros in 3 courts. He is facing 2 cases in Laguna and 1 in Batangas. The Santa Cruz Laguna Regional Trial Court earlier issued an arrest order against Ang for 15 counts of kidnapping and serious illegal detention and 4 counts of kidnapping with homicide. The Department of the Interior and local government has offered a 10 million peso reward for any information that would lead to the arrest of Ang. Ang's lawyer, Gabriel Villarreal, challenged the order to arrest Ang, saying the directive was premature and legally questionable. The Bureau of Immigration said Ang is believed to still be in the Philippines. Nonetheless, Philippine authorities have requested an Interpol red notice for Ang. A red notice is a request to law enforcement worldwide to locate and provisionally arrest a person pending extradition, surrender, or similar legal action. The State Weather Bureau says Tropical Storm Ada maintained its strength as it moved northwestward over the sea east of eastern Visayas. In its 5 p.m. bulletin on Friday, January 16, Pag-asa says it last spotted the center of Ada 255 kilometers east-northeast of Borongan City, eastern Samar. Ada carries maximum sustained winds of 65 kilometers per hour and gustiness of up to 80 kilometers per hour. According to Pag-asa, Ada is moving northwestward at 20 kilometers per hour. Tropical Cyclone Wind Signal number 1 is raised over 16 areas in the country where minimal to minor impacts are possible due to strong winds. Pag-asa forecasts Ada to move generally northwestward until Saturday, January 17, before turning slowly north-northwestward to northeastward by Sunday, January 18. From Sunday onwards, Pag-asa says Ada is seen to move slowly or become almost stationary over the sea northeast of Catanduanes. The agency also forecasts Ada to pass close to eastern Samar and northern Samar on Saturday and near Catanduanes from Saturday evening through Sunday. It adds that a further westward shift in the forecast track may result in a possible landfall over eastern Visayas and Bicol region. Pag-asa says Ada will remain a tropical storm while moving over the sea east of Visayas and southern Luzon. The tropical cyclone will weaken into a tropical depression by Tuesday, January 20 and into a remnant low by Wednesday, January 21. The Weather Bureau stresses that heavy rainfall and severe winds may still be experienced in areas outside the landfall point and the forecast confidence cone. The International Criminal Court is calling on Philippine National Police personnel to testify against former President Rodrigo Duterte. The appeal comes as ICC prosecutors investigate Duterte for crimes against humanity perpetrated during his administration's anti-drug campaign. In a statement, the ICC says the Office of the Prosecutor is appealing for direct witnesses of the war on drugs to come forward and testify. According to the ICC, these include members of the PNP and other law enforcement agencies involved in the drug war. The ICC also provided an online form where witnesses can submit their complaints securely. ICC accredited lawyer Joel Butuyan says the prosecution could still gather evidence and witnesses because the confirmation of charges against Duterte has not yet occurred. From July 7 to December 18, the Office of the Prosecutor has already handed over 1,300 pieces of evidence against Duterte. Of the total, about 906 pieces of evidence were tagged as incriminating. In September last year, the ICC postponed the confirmation of charges hearing following the request from Duterte's camp. According to Butuyan, the evidence the prosecution gathers can be used against Duterte, Senator Bato de la Rosa, and other alleged co-perpetrators. In March 2025, Duterte was arrested and brought to The Hague, Netherlands, where he is currently detained. Official government data showed at least 6,000 people were killed during the war on drugs under Duterte's administration. However, human rights watchdogs and the ICC prosecutor estimate the death toll to be between 12,000 and 30,000 from 2016 to 2019. De La Rosa served as PNP chief during Duterte's administration. He has not publicly appeared following reports of an ICC arrest warrant against him. The Chinese embassy in Manila files a diplomatic protest against Philippine Coast Guard spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea, Commodore J. Tarriela, over his alleged smearing of Chinese President Xi Jinping's dignity. The move comes days after Tarriela posted a photo of himself in front of a flat-screen television displaying an image collage that appeared to be an AI-generated picture of Xi. In a statement, the embassy says China expresses strong indignation and strongly deplores Tarriela's action. According to the Chinese embassy, it lodged solemn representations with Malacanang Palace, the Department of Foreign Affairs, and the Philippine Coast Guard. It says Tarriela's move supposedly violates China's political dignity, calling it a blatant political provocation which has crossed the red line. Chinese embassy deputy spokesperson Guo Wei confirms that the solemn representation refers to a diplomatic protest. The embassy also says it is seeking clarification on whether Tarriela's remarks supposedly against China and the Chinese leader represent the stance of the Philippine government. For his part, Tarriela says the embassy's request violates the Vienna Convention, which states that diplomatic missions must not interfere in the internal affairs of the host state. The PCG official also describes the Chinese embassy's move as an attempt to deflect from the core issue of China's repeated aggressive and illegal actions in the West Philippine Sea. Tarriela also says the Philippine government has no obligation to supposedly discipline him for accurately reporting violations occurring in Philippine waters. Beijing asserts sovereignty over almost the entire South China Sea, including most of the West Philippine Sea. However, a landmark international tribunal ruling in 2016 effectively rejected China's sweeping claim.